The teller slid the printout across the counter, and Maya Reeves felt the floor tilt beneath her. "Ma'am, this account was closed 11 months ago," the woman said, not unkindly. "Zero balance. Closed by the primary holder." "I'm the primary holder," Maya said. Her voice came out flatter than she meant it to. "That trust was set up by my grandmother. My name is the only one on it." The teller turned the screen around so Maya could see it herself. Account holder, Maya Danielle Reeves. Co-signer authorization, Renee Reeves. Date of closure, September 3rd. Funds transferred, $840,000. Maya's hands went cold. She hadn't signed anything in September. She hadn't been in Atlanta in September. She'd been in Seoul, closing a merger for a client, sleeping 4 hours a night in a hotel room that smelled like jasmine and jet fuel. She remembered September in painful, specific detail because it was the month she'd finally made partner at her firm. The month she'd called her mother crying with pride, and her mother had said, distractedly, "That's wonderful, baby. We're proud of you." Distracted, rushed, like she was reading a script. Now Maya understood why. She asked the teller for the co-signer authorization form. It took 4 minutes, a supervisor, and a very carefully worded thread about her occupation before the document landed in front of her. The signature at the bottom was hers. Perfect. Practiced. Wrong. Maya had signed her own name 10,000 times in her life. She knew the exact tremor of her M, the way her Y dipped low and curled back on itself like a question mark. This signature didn't ask questions. It was too confident, too clean. Somebody had forged her name to empty out $840,000 that her grandmother had left her. Money meant for nothing else but Maya's future, and the only other name on the paperwork was her mother's. If you've ever had to fight to protect what's rightfully yours, stay with this one till the end. And subscribe, because this story only gets darker from here. She didn't cry. She didn't call her parents. She got in her car, drove to her office, and pulled the one file she'd promised herself she'd never open. The file on Reeves Beauty Collective, her parents' cosmetics company, and its silent partner, a Seoul-based investment group called Beck Capital. She had helped structure that partnership 3 years ago as a favor. Free legal work for family. She knew every clause in that contract. And buried in Section 14, under contingency funding sources, was a line she'd flagged at the time and been told to ignore. Personal family assets may be leveraged to satisfy shortfall obligations at family discretion. Family discretion. That was the phrase her parents had used to justify robbing her blind. Maya's parents, Marcus and Renee Reeves, had built Reeves Beauty Collective from a card table at an Atlanta flea market into a brand carried in 400 stores across the Southeast. Black-owned, Black-founded, the kind of story that got them on morning shows and business magazine covers. Maya had grown up watching her parents shake hands with mayors and pose for photos under gold ribbon-cutting scissors. What she hadn't grown up watching, what she only pieced together that night, sitting alone in her office with the lights off and 3 tabs of financial filings open, was how close the whole thing had come to collapsing 18 months ago. Reeves Beauty had expanded too fast into Korean skincare-inspired product lines, chasing a market that was exploding online. To do it, they'd taken an enormous loan from Beck Capital, run by a soft-spoken, immaculately dressed man named David Beck, who had a habit of smiling with his mouth and never his eyes. When a supplier scandal tanked their Q2 numbers, Beck Capital called in the loan early. Reeves Beauty was 90 days from bankruptcy, and that was the month Maya's mother had asked her on the phone. So casually Maya almost missed it. "Remind me, baby, that trust from Grandma Odessa, is it still just in your name?" Maya had said yes. She hadn't thought anything of it. She was in Seoul closing a deal, 3 time zones and 1 ocean removed from the truth. 2 weeks later, her signature appeared on a bank form she never touched. Maya drove to her parents' house that night. Not the next morning, not after she'd calmed down. That night, her mother answered the door in a silk robe, a glass of red wine already in hand, and for 1/2 second her face did something Maya had never seen it do before. It went white with fear. "Maya, baby, it's late. Where's my grandmother's money?" Renee's mouth opened, closed. Behind her, Marcus appeared in the hallway, tie loosened, looking like a man who'd been waiting for this conversation and hoping it would never come. "Sit down," Marcus said. "Let us explain." "I don't want to sit down. I want to know how you forged my signature to take $840,000 out of an account with only my name on it. The silence that followed lasted 11 seconds. Maya counted them. The company was going to die, Renee finally said, voice cracking. 200 employees. Your father's whole life. My whole life. We were going to lose everything. Maya, everything. And you had that money just sitting there. It wasn't sitting. It was mine. Grandma Odessa left it to me specifically because she didn't trust either of you with money. You know that. You were at the reading of the will. You heard her lawyer say it out loud. Marcus flinched. That detail landed exactly where Maya wanted it to. We were going to pay it back, he said. Every cent Beck's loan bought us 18 months. We refinanced. The company's stable now. You wouldn't even have known if I hadn't gone to close my own trust account, Maya said. Which I only did because I wanted to put a down payment on a house. My house. With my money. That you stole. Renee set the wine glass down so hard it cracked at the stem. Don't you dare say we don't love you. Everything we did to protect this family. You didn't protect me. You used me. There's a difference, and I think you know it, because you didn't tell me. You didn't ask me. You forged my name like I was a stranger you were robbing, not your daughter. Maya turned to leave. Her mother grabbed her wrist. If you go to the police, you destroy us. Everything we built. Everything you grew up with. Maya looked down at her mother's hand until Renee let go. I'm not going to the police, Maya said. Not tonight. She left them standing in the doorway, believing, for exactly 4 days, that they'd gotten away with it. Here is the part Maya's parents didn't know. Maya hadn't just structured the Beck Capital contract. She'd also, out of pure professional habit, run a background check on David Beck before letting her parents sign anything with him. The kind of due diligence her firm required for any 9-figure foreign investment deal. And buried in that background check, filed away and forgotten because the deal had gone through anyway, was a regulatory filing from the Korean Financial Supervisory Service. A prior fraud investigation into Beck Capital. Never prosecuted. Quietly settled. Sealed under a non-disclosure agreement that expired, coincidentally, in 6 weeks. Maya had forgotten about it entirely, until she reread the loan contract that night and noticed something new. A clause added in an amendment 8 months ago, one her parents had signed without her review, without a lawyer present at all. If Reeves Beauty Collective missed even one repayment milestone in the next fiscal year, Beck Capital could exercise a full ownership conversion. Not liquidation. Ownership. David Beck wasn't trying to get his loan back. He was trying to take the whole company. And the $840,000 stolen from Maya hadn't saved her parents from David Beck at all. It had only bought them 18 more months inside a trap that was always going to close. Maya went back to her parents' house 4 days later, and this time she brought a laptop. I found something, she said, before either of them could speak. And you need to hear it sitting down, because I am not the person you should be worried about right now. She turned the laptop around. The Korean regulatory filing. The amended contract clause. A conversion timeline that placed full ownership transfer at exactly 90 days from now. The same 90-day cliff David Beck had engineered once before. He's not your rescuer, Maya said. He's been running the same play on family businesses for 6 years. Get them desperate. Get them to sign something they don't read closely, wait for one missed payment, and take the company outright. My money didn't save Reeves Beauty. It bought David Beck 6 more months to make sure you couldn't get out from under him. Marcus's face had gone gray. Renee had both hands pressed flat against the kitchen island like she needed it to stay standing. We signed that amendment in March, Marcus said slowly. Beck's people said it was standard language. It's not standard. I read contracts like this for a living, and I'm telling you, in 6 weeks, when that NDA expires, this filing becomes public. Regulators, reporters, every store carrying your product will see it. You have a choice right now that you will not have in 6 weeks. What choice? Renee whispered. You come clean. All of it. The stolen trust, the forged signature, the amendment you didn't read. You get ahead of it. You go to your board. You go to a real lawyer. Not me. I can't ethically touch this now. And you try to renegotiate before Beck can execute that conversion clause. Or you wait, and it happens to you instead of through you. And you lose the company and your reputation and probably your freedom, because forging a legal signature on a financial document is a felony, and I will not lie for you to protect you from that. They chose to wait. That was the part that broke something in Maya permanently. Not the theft, not the forged signature, but watching her parents freeze in the exact same instinct that had gotten them here. Marcus told the board there was an internal review underway. Renee stopped answering Maya's calls. They hired a crisis PR firm instead of a fraud attorney. They spent $40,000, money Maya later learned came from her own drained trust, on a strategy meant to manage a story instead of fix a crime. 6 weeks later, the NDA expired. The Korean Financial Supervisory Service filing became a matter of public record the same week. A business journalist, tipped off by a source Maya never identified and never denied being, published a feature titled The Investor Who Eats Black-Owned Brands. David Beck's pattern unraveled across 3 continents in real time. For other companies, all minority-owned, all lured with rescue capital, all facing the same ownership conversion clause buried in fine print. Reeves Beauty Collective's board called an emergency session. Marcus and Renee were asked, point blank, whether they had known about the conversion clause before signing. They lied. The board found the amended contract themselves within the hour. Maya had made certain, quietly, that the original unredacted version reached the right inbox, and the lie cost them more than the theft ever could have. Within a month, Marcus and Renee Reeves were removed from the company they'd built from a card table at a flea market. Not by Beck, by their own board, for breach of fiduciary duty and material non-disclosure. Beck's conversion clause was voided in the same emergency filing that would eventually make him radioactive to every remaining investor he had. Reeves Beauty survived. David Beck did not. Marcus and Renee did not survive it either, but their ruin didn't stop where Maya expected it to. The board's findings didn't stay inside a hearing room. Under the company's disclosure obligations, the forged signature surfaced in the same filing that exposed the conversion clause, a felony, in black and white, with Renee's name attached to the authorization. The district attorney's office, already circling David Beck's collapsing empire for unrelated charges, added Renee Reeves to the docket almost as an afterthought. She was charged. She took a plea to avoid trial, probation, restitution, a permanent record that would follow her into every job application for the rest of her life. Marcus wasn't charged. He didn't need to be. The company he'd built was gone, absorbed into a management structure that had no use for his name on anything, and the industry that once put him on magazine covers now used his story as a cautionary tale in board governance seminars. The man who signed away his daughter's inheritance and lost everything trying to hide it. He and Renee separated 8 months later. Neither of them could look at the other without seeing the moment they'd chosen the company over their own child, and lost the company anyway. Maya didn't attend the board hearing or the arraignment. She didn't need to. She got the outcome the same way she got everything else that year, through documents, filings, a careful trail she'd built without ever raising her voice. Her mother called her once, the night the plea deal was finalized. Maya let it ring twice before answering. "You did this," Renee said. "Not a question. I told you the truth 6 weeks before it became public," Maya said. "You had time to fix it. You chose PR over honesty. Again, I could go to prison, Maya." "I know. I read the filing. Don't you feel anything?" Maya was quiet for a moment, standing at her window, looking out at a city where she'd built an entire career out of reading fine print other people ignored. "I feel exactly what I felt the day I found out you forged my name," she said. "Like I was never allowed to be careless in this family. And you both were, right up until it cost you everything." She didn't hang up in anger. She just ended the call and blocked the number an hour later, the way you'd seal a door you never intended to open again. Reeves Beauty Collective is still on shelves in 400 stores, run now by a CEO the board brought in from outside the family. Maya was offered a board seat. She declined it, and meant it. Some doors, once closed, are better left that way. She used what remained of her trust, recovered through the same proceedings that exposed everything else, since the emergency filing had frozen and clawed back the diverted funds before Beck's people could touch them, to buy the house she'd wanted in the first place. She told the real estate agent, when asked who to list as co-signer, that there wouldn't be one, and that there never would be again. Her parents didn't just lose the company, the house, and their reputation. They lost each other, and they lost her, permanently, by her own choice. Because Maya had learned the one lesson they never did, that some contracts, once broken, don't get renegotiated. They were the only ones who ever believed she'd let it slide because they shared her last name. If you've made it this far, you already know how this ends for people who mistake silence for permission. Tell us in the comments who you'd have believed first and subscribe for the next one.